Good evening and welcome to the Everything Comics Podcast, episode 2 on YouTube. We got some nice feedback from the last show, and before I really get into that, as always, I am joined by Charles. Charles?
Hello, fellas. How are we all tonight? How are you, Mr. Ray?
I'm good, bro. Ready to enjoy a nice long weekend.
Oh, I hear that. Labor Day weekend is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. Like I was saying, we got a lot of decent feedback.
Yeah, we did. Definitely the move to YouTube seems to have helped. So, and then we want to say thank you all so much for watching, listening. Those who gave feedback, thank you all.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, and thank you for the people that actually stuck around from SoundCloud, because there is a few. So thank you for that.
Yep. Oh, before I forget, also, thank you, John Marchese, who commented on us from Facebook. And thank you.
Thank you, John. Even though I'm not on Facebook, I have no idea who you are, but thank you.
No, you know John. Karaoke.
Oh, John M.
Yes.
Sorry, John. I apologize. Yeah, all right. See, I only know you, John M. I didn't know your full last name, so okay. I apologize, John.
Okay. And Mr. Rosenthal, Dave Rosenthal also commented, so thank you for that.
Yes, in which Rosenthal will be joining us in a future episode sometime in the near future. And we're actually...
Details to be ironed out.
Yeah, that. And also... well, I guess we'll talk about that later before we segue into a new segment that we're going to introduce. But first and foremost, what shall we delve into first?
Well, let's see. Well, we did pick up our comic books today.
Yes, we did. You want to segue right into that?
Yeah, let's talk about what we got.
All right, we can do that. Go ahead. You can start.
Me, I was a little naughty. I've been a little naughty. I haven't been keeping up with my books so much. So.
Okay. And by the way, before Charles continues, this segment is brought to you by Fourth World Comics here on Long Island. Great store, great guys. There you go. If you're on Long Island, you want a really cool comic book store, toys, everything. These are the guys. And yeah, it might run into Scott Snyder on a Wednesday night day. He usually stops in and picks up his stuff. So Fourth World Comics.
And also does signings there.
Yes, and he does signings there. That's where him and I have our bromance going, as I mentioned last week.
Yep.
But yes, Fourth World Comics, a great store. So check them out.
Absolutely. Okay, so now the haul. So like I said, I've been a little lax on my stuff lately, so I've had to do some catch up. Mm-hmm. But we start with
G.I. Joe 243.
A Real American Hero, number 243. We have to specify that it's Real American Hero because we have to make sure we differentiate it from the IDW regular continuity version of G.I. Joe.
Yes, with the Transformer on the Joe team.
Yes, with Skywarp.
You've heard us talk about that plenty of times. We went into a lot of detail on that.
We discussed that last week, so we don't need to rant about that. Well, I don't need to rant about that.
Yeah, you did most of the ranting.
But yeah, so Real American Hero. Basically, the long story short of it, without going into a lot of it, because I haven't had a chance to read most of these yet, but long story short is the Real American Hero is a continuation from the Marvel continuity of the 80s.
And not to cut you off, it kind of looks like that because the art looks like it's from the 1980s. Art is terrible.
I'm not a fan of this cover. Yeah. And truth be told, one can kind of thumb through the insides of the book. I'm not a huge fan of the artist, although I will say he stuck around the book a long time. But, it is what it is. See, I wish I could show you the other cover, but it's not going to really come out in the video, so not no point in that. But the other cover was better, in my opinion. But yeah, so, like I said, if you want to follow the adventures of the Real American Hero from the 1980s, here you are. This is your book to do it. Written by Larry Hama, who wrote the book in the 1980s. And did you know Larry Hama actually wrote the bio for the action figures?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. So Larry Hama is basically G.I. Joe.
Oh, yeah. You're talking, what, 30-something years?
Yep.
30-plus years?
Yep, and you're talking now...
Being affiliated with G.I. Joe?
Yep, you figure he wrote 153 of the 155 issues, actually no, 152, I'm sorry. 152 to 155 issues of the Marvel comic, only taking a break for issues 20, 153, and 154.
Wow. That says a lot, because normally you don't see really a writer on a book that long.
Yep. And he did some writing for the Devil's Due books when they were there. I think he did their second book, G.I. Joe Frontline. And then, yeah, first they brought him back to do G.I. Joe Origins for IDW until they eventually said, you know what, heck with it. Let's just give him his original book and let him rewrite, retell, keep telling the stories of the 80s continuity. And to be honest, it's been hit or miss. I mean, I don't want to be mean, but some of Hammer's best days have come behind him a little bit, in fairness. The book hasn't been as sharp as I would have loved it to be, but it's definitely had its moments. I mean, he actually killed the original Snake Eyes, believe it or not.
That's surprising.
Yeah. Granted, they had a success.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but now has Snake Eyes stayed dead, or has he come back in some form or another?
Well, this is or another. What I mean by well, basically, the person that was the original Snake Eyes is dead.
Oh, so they brought the character back with somebody else in the costume, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Correct. So his protege, Sean Collins, for those who really know their Marvel continuity, or may have heard of a character called Kamakura from Devil's Due, and from some of the toys, he's now basically Snake Eyes.
Okay.
I do have one little thing about this. See me, I'm going to be a stickler for detail here, right? Snake Eyes is like maybe I shouldn't bring it up because it's if you saw, I guess it's one of the things. If you really jump into the well, you could really dig into the well of how they get confused because you think there'd be certain things that would distinguish one from the other, but I'll leave that alone. But I will say, I do wish they hadn't disfigured and muted Sean. You didn't need to repeat the Snake Eyes origin story to make him Snake Eyes.
Gotcha. So what else did you get?
Okay, so we have
the six issue series of Nightwing, right?
Yep, Nightwing: The New Order. And I've heard good things about it. Basically, Dick Grayson imposes his order on the world, and you know what? Kyle Higgins is writing it. Kyle Higgins and Nightwing just go together.
Yeah, very true.
So can't wait to really dig my heels into this one. So yeah, so Nightwing, The New Order. Now, I should mention, I'm behind on some of these books, so you may see some older ones in here.
And by the way, if you can hold that up again,
okay.
The back of that comic book, I just want to say, look how pretty she looks. Great movie, by the way. I can never say enough good things about that movie. But yes, that's coming out on Blu-ray September 19th. So that's another thing you guys can go pick up too.
And it's already
out on digital. So, but yes, Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So it's all good. So moving onward, we have
Detective.
Yep. And I believe we are almost there to Tim Drake's return.
Yeah, getting close. Getting close.
But in the meantime, we have a little story here about Anarchy's now in the book, and Spoiler's back. Who they've done some interesting things with the Spoiler. Originally bringing her to be on the Bat team, but now she's kind of against the Bat. Definitely mixing it up with her.
Yeah. See, I don't mind when they try something new.
Right.
At least, you gotta say, they have the balls to try something new, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least, try.
Right. Exactly. So now, I'm going to kind of go through this quick in succession, because like I said, there's some books, so we're going to go through this quickly. So
27, okay. Heart of the Amazon.
Right, Wonder Woman. And which leads us into...
issue 28.
Yep. Which leads us into...
Let me guess, issue 29. Yep.
Bingo.
There you go.
I did mention I was behind, right? Yeah, so...
Just a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, basically we're now starting into the new writer that's picked it up post Greg Rucka. I mean, I can't say enough about what a great job Greg Rucka did with the books. I think we kind of discussed that last week.
We did. We brought it up. He knocked it out of the park on this. He really did.
Yep, and just
because I mean, you've been reading Wonder Woman. I've been reading Wonder Woman for a while, but not as long as you have.
No,
and you've seen its ups and downs through like some of the '80s stuff.
yeah, with Mike Deodato when Wonder Woman basically was barely wearing a uniform.
Yeah, so I mean, this has definitely been a nice change to where you can actually really sink your teeth into the book.
Yeah, Wonder Woman working at Taco Bell way back in the day, or basically, store was meant to be Taco Bell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, that was a thing. Let's see, Wonder Woman turning back to clay.
Yeah, it's definitely had it's had its downs for sure.
You know, Jodie Picoult and that little mini run was volume 3, issues 6 through 10, I believe. God, you know, I get the idea of bringing a big name outside writer into the book, but like she made it like Wonder Woman had just come to a man's earth yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Like Wonder Woman had no clue on how to pump gas. Which, if she had just come into man's world, okay, but they had established she'd been around for a while, and like she had no clue how to either pay for gas or pump it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, her attempts at keeping her secret identity were laughable at best.
Yeah,
it was just the less said about Jodie Picoult's run, the better.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, Greg
wasn't very good.
No, I will say Greg Rucka wrote her from volume 2 from 195 to 226. I mean, that was an awesome run. I mean, Jesus, she had the definitive fight against the Silver Swan and managed to cure. She had that freaking mega fight against Medusa, the one where she actually blinded herself to win the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of shows you what a badass she is.
Absolutely.
You know, only to then go up against freaking Zeus's mega monster, Briar Eros. I'm not even sure if I said that right, but long story short, the thing was
close enough.
Yeah, the thing was like 30, 40 feet tall. She took it on and then basically held it at bay long enough so that she could show Briar Eros Medusa's severed head, and which turned him into stone.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty badass in and of itself.
Absolutely. So some of those earlier issues that Rucka did.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yep. And mind you, she
can't
fought
say enough good things about those.
And mind you, she fought this thing blinded too. You know. Then of course the mega fight with Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, Rucka did a great job then, and he did a great job here.
Yeah, he did.
I'm sorry to see him go.
Yeah.
You know,
hopefully this writer will actually pick up where Greg left off.
Right. Let's see. We should probably say the name of the writer, right? So
yeah, should be on the cover.
No, just the last name. Probably. Watch. It's probably one of those books that says it on the last page. Nope, I'm wrong. Okay, so Fontana. I'll say Fontana because it's. But anyway, before we digress too much, I'm not seeing it. So we'll say Fontana, the writer. Okay. So yeah, there's Wonder Woman. So yeah,
it's a pretty badass cover too, by the way.
Oh, that
I like that cover.
Oh, that is. Look at all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, a lot going on that cover. I like that.
Okay, so yeah, Wonder Woman must pull. Okay, so we move on to a favorite book of mine. I know it's not a book you've been collecting really much.
Yeah, no, I never really got into the Titans.
Right. I mean, I definitely prefer the Titans to the Teen Titans because the Titans have a sense of fellowship, especially with this roster here, that the old Teen Titans, the current Teen Titans don't really have. Mm-hmm. They're still kind of making them as more of the misfit group, whereas again, you have it here, and here's again another reminder. But yeah, so I mean, to me, you've got Nightwing, you got Donna Troy here, you got Wally West here, a classic Wally West. There's Roy Harper, of course, Aqualand, and Bumblebee and Lilith. So there's your Titans lineup.
And good seeing classic Wally West back.
Yeah, you know what, definitely missed him.
Yes.
So let's see. Moving onward, we have.
Yep, Trinity. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman book.
Basically, if you will, the heart of the Justice League without the rest of the Justice League. Mm-hmm. And mind you, this particular arc, because I did thumb through this arc in the store, this particular arc did involve the rest of the Justice League. Me, I'll be honest with you, leave them off. you know what? There is a book called Justice League that you can have them in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if this book's going to be about the Trinity, make it be about the Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like having one of them pop up might be okay. I don't want to feel like I'm reading just another
Justice League book. How many is there now? Anyway, there's like 2 or 3, right?
Yep, you got Justice League, got Justice League of
Of
America.
America, yeah.
Well, yeah, they've kind of always kind of done something like that. I'm just saying, I don't want to pick up this book thinking that I'm just reading the Trinity.
Another Justice League book, yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of Trinity.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Another issue.
Yep, and I will say, other than that little bit, I've enjoyed Trinity just far.
So have I.
Yeah, I think that, you know, I like, honestly, I like the fact that there's a book with just the 3 of them.
Mm. And I'm surprised they didn't do it a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, they've, you know.
I mean, they've always each popped up in each other's books from time to time, but the 3 of them never had their own book.
Right. I mean, you know, you had the Superman Wonder Woman book, which eventually, I mean, they did the Trinity mini-series a while back, the 52 issue, or actually, if it's 52 issues, you probably could call it maxi-series. But they did that a while back. But
and then they did the Batman Superman.
Yeah, they've done Batman Superman a couple times. Yeah. But yeah, I am glad to see the 3 of them together. So again, just another reminder. And I thumbed through this one already, so I will say Red Hood and the Outlaws also pop up here. As a matter of fact, they're the reason that we see Zatanna, Constantine, and Deadman here. Well, Trinities, I guess, you know, now 3 Trinities in this one book.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fitting in a way.
Yeah, when you think about it.
Okay, so moving onward, we have, let me put these in order. Again, I mentioned I've been a bad boy, I've been behind.
Yes, Nightwing 25.
Yep, the extra size Nightwing, which leads us to
26.
Yep, which leads us to
27.
Now I notice here, because I haven't had a chance to read these, he's got old Helena Bertinelli, his old buddy from Spiral, except now fully having gone Huntress on us. Since I haven't been reading Birds of Prey, I don't really know how, you know, the current Helena's been as the Huntress, because definitely Helena was a much different character in Grayson. What do you think of the Grayson book, by the way?
I like the Grayson books. I thought they were really good. I mean, I was a little skeptical with the whole Tom Cruise Mission Impossible kind of thing they were going with it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed them. Yeah. You know, I just, for me, Dick Grayson is Nightwing.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Even though the books weren't bad, I liked them. I have them all. I enjoyed them.
Right.
But I just didn't see that character as, like I said, like a spy kind of thing.
Right. They did make it work. In fairness, for a while.
They did.
And so I mean, so you know, it's funny because like you know, we've seen Dick Grayson as Robin, we've seen Dick Grayson as Nightwing, we've seen Dick Grayson as Batman.
Mm-hmm. Now we've seen him as Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible.
Yep. And now he's back to Nightwing.
Now he's back to Nightwing.
What do you think of him as Batman, by the way? Really?
Yeah, I'm one of those purists. I prefer my Batman to be Bruce Wayne. You know,
and yet you defended the Jim Gordon arc.
Yes, because you actually a funny story behind that, because that to replace an iconic character like that and say he's dead with something as ballsy as that to try to make it work, you gotta defend. You gotta show him some love for that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look.
And granted, that wasn't bad.
Right. I mean, I will
what
say
he
this.
did.
I will say this. I don't say what I said just now to knock the book.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm just only pointing out because you just said about
Oh, absolutely. I mean, did I think that Gordon should have been Batman? No, Bruce Wayne is Batman. But over the course of the years, I know you have many different people in the bat suit, but for me personally, my Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Right. I mean, but one can argue for the most part, except when they put Dick as Batman, one could argue that every time they put someone else in the suit, it's almost served as a reminder of that really no one can replace Bruce.
True.
Like when G. Paul Valley was in the suit, I think it was definitely to show the fans as much as anything that be careful what you wish for. When you say you want a more violent Batman, you say you want a Batman that kills. Well, they gave you a Batman that kills, and you know what? They didn't like it.
Yeah.
And, Jim Gordon became Batman. To me, I don't mind it because it's a story. That's the thing. Let the writers tell their story.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're bringing Mephisto into erase a marriage.
Hey. Another one more day reference.
Yes. Short of that, let the writers tell their story. I am kind of thinking along the lines of Nick Spencer with Captain America, making him Hydra Cap.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, we're going to get into with the ending of Secret Empire a little later.
Right. So, we'll discuss that shortly.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, so let's finish up the run with 3 books here that, again, show you how far behind I've been.
Jean Grey.
Yep, number 4, which leads us to...
Look at that, number 5.
Yep. Which leads us to...
Number 6.
Now, I know you haven't really been keeping up with the X-Men corner very much.
No, not much. It's kind of hard to keep up with everything I want to, because if I did, my entire paycheck would go to comics, and I would have nothing to eat and nowhere to live.
That is true.
So,
especially Marvel pricing everything at $3.99.
Mm-hmm. And some 4, 5, 6.
Yes.
And a double-sized Deadpool issue that I spent $10 on. So yeah,
that was horrible. By the way, how the hell did?
Yeah, I'm a Deadpool fan. I couldn't help it.
And that's how they get away with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but so basically, long story short, I've enjoyed the books where they've been going so far. I mean, thing about Jean Grey, so it should be mentioned. Okay, for those who don't really follow the X books, prepared for a little bit of brain hurt here. Okay, the Jean Grey that we have in this book, the main star, is the teenage time-displaced Jean Grey. Long story short, a couple of years ago, the Beast thought it would be a good idea, seeing as to how badly Cyclops had corrupted the X-Men. Beast came up with the brilliant idea of, let's bring back the original 5 X-Men, specifically, let's bring back young Cyclops to basically kind of remind old Cyclops of what he could be. Because nothing could ever go wrong with that, right? So, lo and behold, a couple years later, the X-Men are stuck in their timeline. Yeah, the original 5 are stuck in this timeline. They can't go back. So they've all made some changes to themselves. We've got Angel's got energy wings. Beast has delved himself into some very dark magic. Teenage Iceman came out as gay, which then managed to convince adult Iceman to come out as gay. And now we have Jean Grey basically becomes the leader of the young X-Men instead of Cyclops. And now Jean is in her own book. So, I mean, I've been enjoying it thus far. It's kind of interesting because the whole premise of this book is there's sprinklings or rumors that the Phoenix is coming back. Because, Jean Grey and the Phoenix are kind of tied at this point, or long since tied.
I know we were talking about this before. Isn't like the old classic Jean Grey kind of like her subconscious or kind of something like that? Or something like that's going on?
Let me explain what's good, because this is a recent thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically the whole thing is Jean's been effectively, although not truly, dead for the last 11 years. They brought her back in Phoenix and so on, but then they basically descended her onto a higher plane at the end of the book, where she's basically almost like in a godlike state, but she's not really around. Of course, for whatever reason, the way Marvel's written it in very poor style, the characters all act like she's dead, even though she clearly was not at the end of that book. But anyway, that if I could go on another tangent talking about that. So long story short of it, though, now is apparently very recently now, adult Jean Grey has shown up with teenage Jean Grey, kind of basically in a spirit form, advising her. So is this the Jean Grey that's found all her pieces from the White Hot Room? We'll see. Will this lead to the classic Jean Grey coming back? We'll see. But the thing is, the teen Jean Grey's got plenty to offer on her own. Because now you've got a kid, basically a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
who's got to live up to this tremendous legacy of what everyone sees. The adult Jean Grey. The adult Jean Grey turned out to be a legend, and this Jean Grey comes into things with all the burdens of that and none of the experience. How's she going to handle that? Especially as rumors are coming around that the Phoenix may be coming back, and again, we're talking a Jean Grey who's many years younger than the original one when she had to deal with the Phoenix.
Sounds like there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on, and she's had already a couple guest stars in the book, that people that have held the Phoenix Force, like Hope Summers popped up, Quentin Quire. I love that character, Quentin Quire, by the way. Basically, he's a pretentious, arrogant, egotistical snot who just somehow works.
Well, with a name like that, yeah.
Yeah, kind of picture him almost like Marvel's Damien. I mean, Marvel's version of Damien.
Okay.
Except with basically, literally Omega level superpowers.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah. I mean, the kid wears shirts like saying things like "Wake me when the humans are dead."
Wow.
Yeah, and he started out basically being as rotten as they come. Like, he tried to lead a riot at Xavier's school. Yeah, he's led mental assaults against the X-Men. But yet, for whatever reason, Wolverine decided to take him on. And somehow, despite everything, Wolverine saw something in him. And whatever it was, he's been coming through, albeit still with the chip on his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So now I believe you've bought some books too.
Yes, yes, I did. Let's see. I didn't get that much.
Okay.
But it's a fourth world.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, we got Red Hood and the Outlaws #1. Annual. Yes, I forgot. Yeah, thank you. Annual.
Right.
Grab that. And,
Well,
there she is again. Sorry.
But what have you been thinking of the Red Hood?
I liked it. I'm enjoying this. I've always liked the Red Hood. Red Hood and the Outlaws. Yeah. I've always liked this book.
Right. It's definitely a different cast too, because you've got you got Artemis and Bizarro instead of the woefully underclad Starfire.
Yeah.
And Arsenal.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely like this one. Justice League of America #13.
Right. We were saying about just various Justice Leagues.
Yeah, various fit. This is another one. We already went into this. #29.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman. All-Star Batman #13.
I forgot to grab that actually.
My new best friend Scott Snyder. This is another fantastic series. It sucks it's ending next month. Issue 14. I'm excited to see what Scott is going to do next, which brings me to this. Finally, coming in December, this is the Image previews. You usually get it free with previews. I spent $1.99 just because I wanted. There's a 4-page little arc that's going to lead into the new Witches arc. So that's pretty much why I bought this, because I love witches.
Okay.
So.
Now, Witches is basically another one of his little horror projects.
Yes. Fantastic. It's kind of hard for me to pick and choose which one I like better, Witches or American Vampire.
Right.
Because that's like asking me, even though I don't have kids, what my favorite kid was.
Right. I'd be partial American Vampire, because I do kind of like vampires, and just, I don't know.
Yeah, you're more, I don't mind the vampires,
right.
But I don't know, it's tough for me to pick. Yep. So that was my haul for the week, which wasn't much, being that we were in a 5-week month. So
yeah, true that.
But yeah, it's fourth world. So, but, yeah.
So now Secret Empire.
Yes. Apparently, there are 2 Steve Rogers running around. There have been 2 Steve Rogers running around. One that was being controlled by the memories of. Kobik.
Yeah, basically you have what we can now call Hydra Cap.
Yes.
That's the evil Captain America, the one whose memories were altered by Kobik, to have been basically a member of Hydra his whole life. And this is the one that's basically gone on to betray the United States and do what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. Now, apparently, he also brought back the original costume.
Okay, so now what that is you have the second Captain America. Basically, it's this bearded man that's been running around who turns out to be Kobik's memories of what Cap was before before she did a mind job on him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, basically, long story short, issue 10. Spoiler alert! Steve comes back in his original form, original uniform. Given he's got his body and everything again, he sees Hydra Cap, doesn't like what he sees, kicks his butt.
Well, there you go. Captain America's back.
Right. But now we still have some things to discuss because I think quite a few comic people have some things to discuss about this.
Exactly. Like for me, what does that do for Captain America's legacy?
Right. Because you could say the old "it wasn't him" thing, but I don't know how far that gets you.
Because they kind of played it up like it was him.
Right. I mean, the thing is, so apparently the fight between the two Caps was seen by the world. So that may be their way of trying to, establish that Hydra Cap is alternate Cap, quote unquote, if you will, and that the original is back. But will the readers be so forgiving?
That's the $1 million question.
Yep.
I didn't like that whole thing.
Yeah.
With making with that whole Hydra thing. I just thought it was dumb.
I mean,
like again, very ballsy.
Right.
Very ballsy.
I give them credit for it.
I give them credit too. I just didn't like it.
Right. Sometimes you can give them credit for things and that's not love the idea. I mean, some people didn't like it for really dumb reasons.
Yeah, true.
If you catch my meaning. But, I think my thing is, I wanted to like it because it was ballsy.
It was different and it was ballsy. Because that's some really out of the box thinking for Marvel.
Right. And
to take a character that's been around for over 75 years.
Right.
Or about 75 years or so. And to say now he's a bad guy. He was Hydra all along.
Yep. I mean, and the thing was, I was willing to follow it along because, like I said before, it's a story. Let the writers tell their stories. Like when I heard about the stupid people doing death threats to Nick Spencer, it's just like
people take things way too far.
People look. I've ranted about One More Day as much as anyone. I think everybody knows how much venom I have, no pun intended, for that story.
Tom Hardy's playing Venom in the movie.
That's right. Yes. But that said, that doesn't mean I wish wishing bad on Joe Quesada, that's a whole other level. That's just disgusting.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that those people that sat there and wrote any kind of death threats, that was just disgusting.
Yeah, people take shit way too far.
Right.
And that's just, to threaten somebody's life that's a little extreme.
Ultimately, guess what? You don't have to read it if you really don't like it. Guess what? I dropped Spider-Man after One More Day. I haven't gone back, and you know what? Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, there's books I've stopped reading too if I wasn't into it, but
right. I mean,
not gonna sit there and send mail to the writer saying you should die because you screwed up my character.
Right.
That's all insane.
Yeah, exactly. It's like at the end of the day, these are stories about people that are not real.
True.
But so
I'm sure you probably just pissed a lot of people off by saying they weren't real.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
All right, I can see the hate mail coming into YouTube now.
I know, right? True.
They're gonna wish us dead.
Oh boy. Dum 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 dum. But anyway, but going back to the point. So, listen, I give them credit for it. Just I don't know.
I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah. Like honestly, to me, I enjoyed more the Sam Wilson as Cap stories. I am slightly bummed that he's going back to being the Falcon.
He was a good Cap.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they did that to appease certain people.
I think so.
And that doesn't sit well with me.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. Hopefully the Falcon can have a good run, get people reading. They get a good writer on it. People continue to follow the character. Maybe he grows the fan base, and he stays.
I think the movies are helping.
Yeah,
Because I mean, he's a pretty decent character in the movies.
He is.
I think that's going to help a little bit.
he is. And honestly, though, I love the way Spencer's written because Spencer's written him. I think some people have a lot liked it, but he's written him. Hate to say it, but probably the way a superhero of color would be received in the world. I hate to say that, but
Unfortunately, it's the world we live in,
yeah,
and it's sad that it's 2017 and shit like that still goes on. It's despicable.
yeah, you can't escape it. But
No. Unfortunately,
Right.
you can't.
But you know what? I mean, I give Nick Spencer credit because he took that on.
He did, and
Yeah,
he's
he
done a
did.
great job.
Yeah,
He's done a great job with the character.
Yeah, like I said, I've loved the Sam Wilson books. Even the only thing I didn't like was when he made him the wolf. He made him Cap Wolf. Yeah, to me, Cap Wolf is a concept best left in the '70s. But other than that, like I said, I have nothing but love for that run.
You're gonna have a clunker in every now and again.
Yeah,
and I think that was
right.
his clunker.
Right.
It was the Cat Wolf.
Yeah, but other than that, like I said, I've loved what he's done with the character, and like I said, I just hope that the Falcon is in good hands going forward.
We can hope.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've discussed most of the main stuff that's come out now. What else?
Yeah, we have. I know there was something else that that
Okay.
completely slipped my mind.
Oh, but while you're thinking of
Yes.
that, I hope you remember this segment. We're going to bring this back. Our comics over 5 years old. Basically, basically each of us discusses one comic that's like a favorite of ours, and the only thing is, it's got to be at least 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you need time to think of your book? Because I got plenty of books I can plug in while you.
Oh, I know you could. So go for it.
Okay, so in honor of Tim Drake coming back, I'm going to plug Batman 457.
Mm-hmm.
Now, basically, Batman 1457. I wish I had the book in front of me, but I don't. So I'll just, oh well. Anyway, Batman 457 is basically the concluding the part of a three-story storyline. That was very repetitive, but anyway. So goes to show you we're not following script, folks.
Yeah, all off the cuff here.
Yeah. Anyway, so in this three-story arc, Batman's still training young Tim Drake, right? He has not officially taken on the Robin role yet. Obviously it comes not too long after Jason Todd died, and Tim's in Batman's life, but again, he has not taken on the role yet. And now, meanwhile, what's starting to happen is you have people are acting out crimes all throughout the streets of Gotham, like random people who you would think who have no criminal records, and like they're just doing it because they can. And they're saying, "Well, why did you do it?" "Because I've never done it before." He's like, "But for the love of God, why?" So they've got a mystery on their hands, right? So, long story short, Bruce basically sits Tim down, and Tim wants to go out here. Now, think about Tim; he's been going through some stuff. Long story short, in Issues of Tech right before that, his mother was killed, and his dad was basically confined to a wheelchair. And it looked like his dad might have been a vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where Tim's head is at. So Batman sees an impulsive young kid that could be wanting to pull a Jason Todd and get himself killed.
Mm-hmm.
So Batman grounds him and basically says, "You're going to stay here. That's my final word. If you disobey me, you can forget about ever being Robin."
Mm.
So Tim, you see with the mischievous smile, goes, "I'm just going to have to show him." And you're like, "Oh boy, what does that mean?"
Mm-hmm.
But then in 456, there's Tim still at his computer trying to figure, like when he says, "I'm going to show him," he means, I'm going to show him by solving the case, not
Mm-hmm.
by running out and being stupid.
Mm.
So Tim's sitting there plugging away, thinking of all Batman's foes, including the main rogues and the ones like, what's their thing? All these people are acting without fear of consequence. And then all of a sudden he looks at it, that's it, fear. Meanwhile, Batman's running off on his own trying to solve the case. Batman gets ambushed, and at the end of the issue, so's Vicky Vale. They're strung up, and we see who it is. Tim's figured it out. All right, it's the Scarecrow. But what Tim does also is now he basically calls a cab, and he leaves. And Alfred's like, "Where are you going?" He goes, "To say goodbye to my chances of ever being his partner." So that's where 457 now begins. Basically, Tim is about to launch a rescue attempt of Bats on his own, but but notably, he refuses to bring the Robin costume. So you're like, what the heck? So eventually, what happens is he confronts the Scarecrow basically in a ski mask. Ski mask.
That's Hood.
Yes, yeah.
That's Hood.
Yeah, that is
Exactly.
Yep, ski mask and
ski mask way.
Ski mask and a jacket.
See, there you go.
Yeah, basically,
That's gangster.
If you almost Red Hood style.
There you go.
And basically, he does just enough to get Batman free, and Batman wins the day.
Of course.
Right. Then basically what happens is Batman then, Tim's taking a little hit of the Scarecrow juice in the meantime. But, again, he managed to do just enough to win the fight. And Batman turns on Tim. He's like, what did I tell you? He goes, to stay home. He goes, but I figured it was a Scarecrow. I knew you were walking in a trap. He goes, and I couldn't just sit back and let you, I couldn't do that. So then, Batman asked why he didn't wear the Robin costume. And Tim said, if I was wrong, I didn't want to disgrace the suit. And, Batman kind of looks and he's like, and he kind of just realizes, I don't have Jason Todd on my hands. I have a much more mature person, even though he's still, young person. You have someone who's much more ready to bear the responsibility than Jason ever was. And he says, look, one thing about being a hero, occasionally, you may get your orders, but sometimes you've got that hunch, that feeling in your gut that makes you, that convinces you that you got to act. And he goes, you know what? Only when it's justified and it's got to be extreme, but a hero does get to break the rules. He goes, and you learned something very valuable. And he congratulates us. Thanks, Robin.
There you go.
Yep. And then the end of the issue, you see Tim's there, and basically Tim is still uncomfortable, and still talking about the power of wearing the original suit. And Batman says, Bruce says to him, I thought about this. So he gives him a box, and he goes, put it on. Let me know what you think. And then the last panel is Gentlemen Meet the New Robin. And it's the Robin costume that we've come to think of for like the 90s and most of the 2000s. The classic costume with the black cape and the long pants instead of the old Robin costume.
There you have it.
Yep, and that was Batman 457.
And 454, 455, 456 all rolled up into one?
Nope, not 454. 454 was the conclusion to Dark Knight, Dark City. That was the Riddler arc.
There you go.
Yeah. So, have you thought of a book?
Yes, I did, but I'm not quite sure if it's 5 years.
Let's go. Let's roll with it.
Probably one of my favorite issues of comics I have ever read.
Yes.
Walking Dead issue 100.
100. Okay.
Yes.
Yep. I think you did not manage to go over it because I remember there was some Walking Dead.
Yes, the Walking Dead issue that I think I talked about on SoundCloud was 28.
Okay.
I think.
Right. So 100. Let's talk about 100.
All right, 100 for me was probably one of the best comics, hands down, that I've probably read in a long time.
And by the way, you can tell Walking Dead fan here.
Yes, I don't know if you guys can see, but yeah, I kind of went overboard a little bit on the walk, and there's stuff up there too that you guys can't see.
Yeah.
But issue 100 introduced probably one of the most vile, despicable, most awesome characters ever.
And who would that be?
That would be Negan.
Okay. See, I know next to nothing about Walking Dead. I've heard the name, but I know nothing about it.
Yeah, he is the leader of the Saviors.
The Saviors?
Yes. It's one of the groups that Rick and everybody encounter along their little journey.
Okay.
And like I said, I didn't think they would be able to have a character as crazy as the Governor. But
the Governor.
After that, I was like, all right, you always hear things. All right, they're going to be introducing, I guess, a new villain. You know, because after the governor died in the prison riot, then we have Negan, and Negan made the governor look pretty tame with some of the stuff that he did. And one of the big reasons why issue 100 is so popular, not only is that his first issue, he also kills one of the beloved characters from Rick's group. He brutalizes him with a baseball bat and pretty much until his eyeball comes out of his socket. Yeah.
Rather grisly.
Oh, it was graphic. And the cool thing about it, which I don't know, it's really cool, like beating somebody's brains in, was on the show, they actually made it exactly the same way.
Huh.
Which was actually really cool because the comic was graphic.
Right.
Like, literally, his eyeball was hanging out of his head. Like, because he pretty much repeatedly beat him to death with a barbed wire baseball bat.
Jesus.
Until his head was mush. Yeah, it's graphic. Very graphic. And they actually did that too in the TV show, which was pretty cool. But that pretty much set off a chain of events from all the storylines, from the All Out War storyline and everything else that came after that was pretty much a culmination of them meeting that group.
Okay.
Where Rick's group and Alexandria and the Hilltop and they all joined forces to take on Negan.
Okay.
But that issue, I mean, I'll put that issue right up with the silent issue of that Tomasi did.
Ooh, Batman and Robin number.
Batman and Robin, was that 18?
Yeah,
yeah. I'll put that issue right up there with that.
Yeah, we discussed that on SoundCloud. That was a tearjerker.
Yeah. Not only that, for an issue to not have one word in it to actually move you as much as it did.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, I'm man enough to admit I cried at the end of that one.
Yeah, that. And I'm actually glad I got Tomasi to sign my copy when we met him.
Yeah.
Because that book was.
Yeah, I told him that too.
You did. Yes, you did. That's another fantastic writer. Love Tomasi's work.
Oh yeah. And I have to say, he's been killing it on Superman too. Believe it or not.
Yeah, you know what? I personally don't buy trades. I'm not a trade guy. I don't like buying trades. I like having the issues. But
I think you should get the trades.
He's really beaten me to death here with this Superman stuff. So I might have to break. Who knows? Like I said, I like Tomasi's work, so I might actually enjoy Superman for once.
I think you know it is
because we've actually discussed this on SoundCloud a lot. Because Superman is one of those characters that's very hard to write.
He is.
You know, but from what you're saying, that Tomasi is knocking it out of the park. So.
Oh yeah, well, I think by giving him the kid and giving him something to fight for as much as anything, and by making Lois a badass too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lois shows up in that issue, I believe issue 5, in a freaking one of the Batman's mecha suits and just kicks some ass. Mm. Actually, Eradicator, she kicks the Eradicator's ass. Mm-hmm. I mean. What's not to love?
Yeah, enough said. Anytime Wonder Woman beat someone's ass.
No, it was Lois.
Oh, it was Lois.
It was Lois.
I thought you said Wonder Woman.
No.
Wow. Woo. I just disappeared for a second there. My bad. Right. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
Well, I guess we should start wrapping up.
Yep.
Yeah. It looks like we've been on for a while already.
Yep. You know, it's funny because I think of The Walking Dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie. You know, my thing is I'm not into zombies. One, I'm not into excessive gore. I'm not gonna lie about that. Like my knowledge of Walking Dead has been limited basically to I know who Rick Grimes is, and I know they had a character named Gareth who is now whose actor is now playing the adult Henry Mills on Once Upon a Time. Yes, I watched Once Upon a Time.
Somebody's really got to wrap up.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, anyway, we're done. Thank you all very much. And
well, let me say my goodbye first, since I end up being the one that cuts it. So, all right, see you guys next week. Thank you all so much for the support, and look forward to doing this again.
Alrighty, again, thank you all very, very much for joining us. Issue 3 next week, and we'll see you around.
Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Yes, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Take care, guys. Thank you.